Oh, baby Gene Money Staff Lad Emporium was one hell of a show. A show about a wrestling show, but more on that later. Let's get into the review. Hello and welcome back to the HCW YouTube channel. My name is Dan, DP DePreezy. Whatever you call me, that is my name. Welcome to the show. If you've seen the video title, you know what we're here today to review. We're here to review just what's going on behind me as well. G Money's Daft Lad Emporium, a show that was titled About a Wrestling Show. So the show itself was hosted in the Dome in Tufnell Park, London, which is a venue that's frequented by Progress Wrestling a little bit when they're not using the ballroom in London. It's very fresh, very what's the word? I can't remember the word. Like it's very modern. The venue is very small. I'll put a picture up somewhere on the screen here so you can see when it was like from how I took it. It was my first time there. Very good venue. Was very good compared to the ballroom. The ballroom feels a bit outdated, a bit traditional, which is not bad. It's just was a bit tired, a bit knackered. Uh, Tufnell Park, the Dome, felt a bit different, and I don't know. The staging as well just was very different. Everything was sort of I can't think of the right word, but it was very modern compared to, as I keep saying, the outdated traditional ballroom. Uh, But we're not here to discuss the venue. We're here to discuss the wrestling or the wrestling show, or sorry, the show about a wrestling show. So as we all know, there's a G Money's Daft Lad Emporium, which was a show hosted by and funded, maybe, by Gene Money, with the support of Pro Wrestling Management. Um, so we'll start things off with Gene. Obviously, he's here. He's in tow with his Daft Lads, Millie McKenzie, and LG Cleary. So naturally, we know at some point there's going to be something going on with these two. We don't know what entirely, but we know there's going to be something going on. Um, so we get through things. Gene's here. He basically says nothing's going to go wrong, and that management, which is Lee McAteer and Martin Best, they're both in attendance. They both just passed out of the ring. They're chilling out watching the show as well. And they also have no idea what's going on. Only Gene has an idea of what's booked, and obviously what we put out on Twitter with the matches and all that. So with that in mind, we have a few shenanigans going on between Gene and his Daft lads. But we get into the first match of the night, which was one that I think everyone saw starting things off. Between Callum Newman, Leon Slater, and making his Progress Wrestling debut, Jack Bandicoot. So we get into the match itself. It's a very good, very fast-paced match. It's a match that everyone was looking forward to seeing, and something that I just think that really went down well with the crowd that was in attendance. So yeah, the match went down really well. Was received really well. Was very fast, very fast-paced. Ultimately, there were several spots where anyone could have won the match, and eventually Callum Newman, picked up the win with a move that I wasn't sure entirely what it was. It was a 1912 bloody cross sort of maneuver. And he gets the pin over, I think it was Leon. I could be wrong. I don't remember. I didn't write that down. But either way, Callum gets the win. And then they all, we get, Jack Bandicoot gets a please come back chant. And we get a lot of, just a lot of crowd chants aimed towards all three because this was a sensational match and a way to open up this show in only a way that G Money's Daft Lad Emporium could. But yeah, we get through that, and then that match happens. That ends, and then all three go to the back. Gene comes out again, uh, and then suddenly the lights go out. We have no idea what's going on, but the lights go out. Um, it's the lights go out. Um, then the light comes back on at the staging area, and then we see Callum Newman. He walks back out, but he's clutching his side. Um, And then it's revealed that there's now blood on his hands and coming from his side. Assumably he's been stabbed or shot or something. And he collapses to the ground. Um, Gene is very poorly playing it off as it's a murder mystery night. But no, there has been an actual murder in G Money's Daft Emporium. We're not sure what's going on. Callum's body is now on the stage. No one moves it. So it's still just there for a bit. We're then shown backstage where Gene is talking to Nina Samuels and Dana Luna, who are due to have the next match of the night. Both of them don't want to compete after they've just seen Callum stumble out onto the stage. Not entirely sure what happened, but Callum has collapsed and is assumably dead. But eventually Gene convinces them because he doubles their pay or something like that, and then they both head out for the show for the match. And then we also get shenanigans with something I didn't mention earlier. But then Session of Martina is also here, and she is playing the role of referee in this match, which is not originally how it was intended. Before the show started, you can hear Gene having a go at Martina backstage because Martina's here and he has nothing booked for her because he's convinced that she's going to ruin the show. So he tells her to go to the front row, enjoy the show, just sit there, don't be a big doubt yourself, essentially. So yeah, Martina's there, and then he just rushes in and she takes off her top and she's got a ref top on underneath. So she is now the ref of this match. So we kick off with the next match of the night. We have very uncomfortable Nina Samuels and a very uncomfortable Dana Luna as they come out, both stare at Canada's body, which is still on the stage at this point. But they both walk past, do their entrances, and they have a match. While before the bell officially rings, we get two police officers who bag up Callum's body, essentially. And during the course of the match, they start moving the body, not backstage. they moved it down the stairs of the rampway, went around the corner and towards the back, rather than through the actual entranceway ramp, which is a bit comedic, I guess. But it was just odd. So at this point, Dana Luna, Nina Samuels, and Martina is the referee. Both of them exchange roll-up pins on each other after Martina gets more and more tired. So every time they're doing like the 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, like it's constant, and then Martina getting more and more tired of each pin that she's doing. Eventually, she needs a break, so she steps out of the ring. At this point, Nina and Danny both engage in an actual sort of match where they're both striking and exchanging holds and all that. At one point, Nina bribes Martina to ignore her antics with more beer. And Martina takes the chance up completely and just like, oh, hell yeah, I'll do that. Because of this, Martina misses a pin from Danny. Danny is annoyed by this, but it is what it is. Lights go out again. At this point, the lights go out for a few seconds, and then suddenly they come back on in a sort of spotlight fashion, and someone runs out, and they're doing that sort of run, and they're wearing a mask, and they run around the ring. So they're running around, and they're being chased by policemen as well. But they're running around the ring. Spotlight on them. They're running around the ring while Danny, Luna, Martina all look sort of mortified. Martina, for some reason, chases after them. I don't know why. She chases after them. In that meantime, Danny gets another pin on Nina, which is, again, saying that would have been a 3 count. It had Martina been there to count it. She comes back, counts, 2 count. Danny is getting annoyed by this. Then, after a few more holds and exchanges, Nina rolls up Danny for the 3 count. So Nina picks up the win over Danny in this encounter, which will no doubt go down quite well for Camp and Nina Samuels. Oh, pardon me. But yeah, that was the match. Both of them, Danny's quite annoyed by this. Nina celebrates her win very casually. Obviously, with Callum's body having been taken away during their match, understandably, she's a bit frazzled by it. So, following on from this, we had a match. There was no more shenanigans, by the way. There was just the backstage segment that we were showing between Gene, who was trying to hire improv actors for something because he needs a detective, but there's no one from the police who's there. So yeah, at this point, there's not much going on, but he's trying to get someone, but there's no update on that. But then he sets up the next match of the night, which is one that, if you're like me, you watch a lot of Japanese wrestling and you appreciate the Puro style quite a fair bit. So this is a match which is wow. Shigehiro Irie taking on Fuminori Abe. Which was a very good match. I don't watch AJPW, so I'm not familiar with Fuminori Abe too much. But they also had an AJPW referee as well, who was also involved in this. This is a very hard hitting, very hard strikes, very hard kicks, like everything you can imagine from these two in a non-Japanese setting. Yeah, is what they did. Essentially bringing the Puro style to the UK one night only. I mean, Shigehiro is more based in the UK, whereas Fuminori is based more in Japan. But they're both here. They both have a great match. I'm torn between this and the opener for Match of the Night. Spoiler alert. But yeah, these two have a great match, and eventually Irie wins with the Pumping Bomber, which was, after a while, these two just were knackered. They were going at each other, and it was an amazing match to watch and witness live. Grateful that I had a chance to actually then have a chance to watch it. So following on from that, we are then introduced to the next match of the night, which is the match that everyone's been looking forward to in some way or other. Kid Lycos 2 taking on a legendary luchador in a Lucha de Apuestas match, Mask vs. Mask. So before the show on Twitter, there's a video released by Lycos Gym, and Lycos 1 says Lycos 2 that he knows who it is, and that he's a luchador that comes from the Bay Area, where they have the code area 619. Obviously alluding to being Rey Mysterio, who's in the Hall of Fame now. So congrats Rey on that if you ever see this video, which I don't think you will, but if you do, congrats on being in the WWE Hall of Fame. You deserve it, man. Immediately we know there's going to be some sort of shenanigans going on because there was no one announced for this match other than Kid Lycos 2. So he comes out, he's in Lycos 1. Apparently Rey Mysterio is not. Apparently he's here, but he's not coming out of the locker room because of his payment or something like that. Like, apparently he's refusing to come out to the match, and he's refusing to compete as part of this show, which is angering Gene because Gene's getting more and more stressed with the murder and everything else that's been going on, like like people not wanting to wrestle or people not wanting to, or things going wrong because he wants to prove a point to management that he can run a show by himself. So yeah, eventually we do get a replacement for Rey Mysterio, which is a fellow luchador wrestler, man like Mysterio. He's part of the famous group, the Cero Uno Dos Uno, which is a famous group based in Mexico, where they have a gimmick where they say the name over Cero Dos Uno Dos. Cero Uno Dos Uno. So one of the things that he says is, I can't remember in Spanish it was something like, I can't remember off the top of my head, but he basically says in English, when I say Cero Uno, you say Dos Uno. So he says Cero Uno, and then we say Dos Uno. But getting into that itself, claims that it's man at Doris, which makes no sense. But it's not unfounded because he's wearing Doris's gear. So it's a little confounded as to who it is entirely. But as far as we know, it's a man like Mysterio. So that might have been Rey Mysterio, but I don't think it was. It's a bit too tall. But yeah, this is the match that we're getting between Kid Lycos 2 and Man Like Mysterio. we get a lot of back and forth between the pair of them. Lacos 2 has control of the first part of the match, and then the second part is a bit more exchange between the pair of them, and then we get a 619 performed by a man like Mysterio, followed on by a 450 splash, which conveniently also Doris's finisher, which also might have some sort of credence as to why we're saying that it's Doris. I'm not fully sold. I don't know. Anyway, Lacos 2 is forced to unmask at this point. Something that we probably no one saw coming, in all honesty. Lacos 2 does lose though, and he agrees to unmask. He wants to do it himself though, so he tells Lacos to go. Lacos complies, and then he sits in the ring. He's about to undo his mask. He undoes like the little strap at the bottom, and then lights go out. The lights go out. We then hear a strange sort of like stabbing noise. So what's going on now? What's happening now? And then when the lights come back on, man like Mysterio is holding Doris's is holding Lycos 2's decapitated head in his hands, like a full on head, with the mask still on, but the head is in his hands. And Lycos 2 is nowhere to be seen. In a shocking turn of events, there's now been 2 murders on the night. There's a lot of argument going on between Lacos and Man like Mysterio, because obviously Mysterio did it, right? Mysterio must have done it because he was in the ring when it happened, and suddenly he's holding Lacos 2's head, and it's ridiculous. It's something that shouldn't have happened. It's a murder. It's so much going on, and then sorry, and then we get them leaving as they're arguing, and then Gene comes out again. Gene says that he's sorry, and that he didn't think there'd be anything wrong with having the show. That he was confident that it'd be a good enough show that would live up to the hype of the show. And then suddenly, we get someone appears from the stageway, or someone says something, sorry, to Gene, sorry, and then out comes TK Cooper, or more precisely, Detective TK Charles Crowley Cooper. Detective TK CCC. He's here, and he's here to help Gene with the investigation as to why, as to who is committing these foul deeds. So that brings on the interval. During the interval, referee Tom Scarborough he's in shock from the event, and he is walking around with a shock blanket on, one of those tin foil, sort of like blankets you wear, like a fire blanket sort of thing. He's wearing one of those, but after that, not much else happens in the interval. The police walking around asking the crowd if they saw anything, or if they know any information. The answer is usually just no, but that's what happens. Coming in now to the second half of the show, we then get a little in memoriam vignette appear on the screen from the screen. Yeah, it's to commemorate and celebrate the lives of everyone who's given their lives today. So we're showing Callum Newman, Kid Lacos 2, and then strangely enough we're showing 3 more names which weren't at all involved tonight. Jay Bakewell, who died from from elderly age. Big Guns Joe, who I can't remember what the reason was, but if you know his history with G Money, they're the Big Money Gun Dogs. So that's why he's there, I guess. And also Cara Noir, who ironically is not actually dead. He's now come back to life because of what happened in chapter 150, which is on our channel. You can look at that now. Probably in the description below. Maybe, or end of the video, I don't know. But yeah, Cara Noir is very much still alive. He's the most alive, resurrected, you could say. So moving on from that, we go into the next match of the night, which was very much a match that I think I cursed a little, only because of my review, or say Rate's review, with me as the host for Mega Slam Wrestling, which was very a camp show. So this is Dean Allmark's Open Challenge, the King of the Camp Show match. Um, so we are introduced to Dean Allmark, who's not Dean Allmark here. He is Dangerous Dino. Uh, Very much a Healy Hill. Very much anti-fans. Is like, you do, if you don't shut up, I'm gonna leave. And then the fans don't shut up, and he's like, well, I'm not leaving anyway. He's very heelish, and then taking on everyone's favorite babyface character, Dynamite Dan Maloney. That's right, Dan Maloney is out here. He's Dynamite Dan Maloney, and he's got one of those like foam finger things that you see in arenas. He's got one of those. A few scattered around the front row and the crowd. I didn't see where these were, so I couldn't get one. But uh, yeah, they're being everyone has some. Everyone, but they're spread out among the crowd. His dad, he's here as well. Uh, he's here to have a match with Dangerous Dino. So Dangerous Dino, Dynamite Dan Maloney in this King of the Cab Show Open Challenge match. I assumed there'd be more who wanted this match. It wasn't. It was just 1-on-1. So I'm alright with that. It was a very stereotypical camp show match. Uh, the Faith is a few licks in, and the heel does so dastardly behind the ref's back to get the upper hand again. Heel continues the beat down, and then a big comeback from Dan would be like the way that he gets forward ahead again. So towards the end of the match, Dean attempts to use his flag. He's got like a little like Johnny Roger black pirate flag with him. He carries that around him. He attempts to strike Dan with it. Doesn't work, and Dan spears him. But however, the ref misses the count because the ref's down at this point, because Dan had inadvertently struck the ref down by accident. So during this, Dan spears him and gets a missed ref free count, so it doesn't count. And then afterwards, as he's getting the ref, Dean low blows him and then rolls him up for the free count. Dangerous Dino wins, and he's still king of the camp show. Post match, Dan low blows Dean as retribution, and we get Dan Maloney full on badass. He's back in gimmick, back in character, back in himself, I guess. He's back. His action music plays, not the Dynamite Dan Maloney one. That his action music plays, and we go to the next bit. So G Money comes back out, and he's now flanked by Detective TK. Strangely enough, with no Millie or LJ, who've been with him the entire time. But they're not here now. TK then reveals that he will declare who the murderer is after the main event. Speaking of which, it is time to get into the main event between Warren Banks, the Nigerian Kaiju, and Omari. In the main event slot of the night, we get a lot of fun exchange between the two of them, a lot of back and forth. We get some innovative offense from Omari. Very impressive display, because this is my first time seeing Omari live. But ultimately, Warren Banks is unable to pick up the win after a tilt-a-whirl and an end-of-days maneuver from Omari to get the free count. Very surprising. I assumed Warren was going to get the win, but there was no interference with Tate Mayfair's, so there was no involvement in that storyline whatsoever with this. So Omari gets a clean, decisive win over Warren Banks, which is quite interesting to see. Following on from this match, both of them leave. Fun match to end things off. Out comes G Money and Detective TK. They're both here again. Okay, this is quite a long thing to go through, so bear with me. So they come out. They talk roughly. They talk mainly about who the killer is. Gene goes around the crowd asking who they think it is. They're both cut off then by Lycos 1. Lycos 1 has been in his own search ever since Lycos 2 was decapitated. Lycos says he has the killer, and sure enough, he drags out someone in a mask, in the full get-up that the killer is wearing. He then unmasks him to someone who no one in the crowd recognizes. Someone on the other side of where I was saying something like, "Oh, look, it's Tate Mayfair's. It's Tate," and then it wasn't Tate. I assumed it was Tate. It's not Tate. So we get that Lycos is like, "Who are you?" And then that's it, really. Pardon me. And And then Lycos is still convinced that this is the guy that, no matter who he is, this is the guy who still killed Lycos too, and also Callum Newman. So he goes ahead and just stabs him. So Lycos has now committed murder on this show as well. So is it Lycos? Is Lycos the one who did this? Is he covering for himself? Did Lycos kill Lycos too? Out come the police officers again from earlier, but this time it's not the same two that we saw earlier. This time it's Munny McKenzie and LJ Cleary. Eh? Dilemma here. LJ eventually pulls out a gun on Lycos because, as you do, a fight over the gun between Lycos and LJ lead to LJ shooting Gene by accident. So Gene is now shot. After this, they both come down to the ring to check on Gene, and then Lycos comes down as well because he's angry at LJ for shooting Gene and everything else is going on. We still didn't find out who the actual murderer is at this point, but we don't get a fight between Millie and LJ against, oddly enough, the weird tandem team of Kid Lycos and TK Cooper. So this is now officially a match that we get at the end of the show. A match that was not advertised whatsoever. So we have the police officers, Munny McKenzie and LJ Cleary, taking on the tandem tag team of Kid Lycos and TK Cooper, Shitwolf Machine, Sunshine, Shitwolf. I heard a bunch of different combinations. But we get to that itself. It's a very fun, very chaosy, very messy, and a match full of chaos. And a lot of weapons used everywhere. But the ending segments of the match come when eventually there's a whole bunch of everything going on. Every weapon's been used in the arena. But LJ pulls out a gun. He pulls out a gun on the TK, and he threatens he's going to shoot TK. Just let us get away, essentially. So at this point, confirming that LJ was indeed the one who had shot and killed Mr. Burns. Not Mr. Burns. No, he killed Callum Newman and Kid Lycos 2, decapitated him. At this point, we get a sort of return from G Money, who's wearing the whole arm sling as well to sell the being shot. He's wearing an arm sling. He comes out. He confronts LJ. LJ shoots two refs as well. LJ gets power hungry. He shoots refs as well beforehand. But out comes Gene. Gene's here. He fights off LJ. Gene is then shot again, which then leads to more comeback. Eventually, the win comes to the team of Lycos and TK when TK hits a massive diving elbow onto LJ through a door that's adding to the table. It's a very cool spot. I did get a picture of it, but it'll be on the VOD when they release it. Very good spot and very good way to end the match with TK and Lycos getting the win despite their disdain for each other. But yeah, that's the end of the match. And then suddenly it's revealed that TK knows who it is. TK said that he promised that he would tell us who it is, and he does tell us indeed who it is. But before he can, Gene Munny pulls a gun on TK. Wow. Gene pulls out a gun on TK, and he reveals that it was him. Nothing had to go wrong tonight, but people they were just hijacking the show. Callum and Kid Lycos 2, they were just hijacking the entire show, making it about them. It was Gene's night, Gene's chance to show management that he could do what he wanted to do, and he had the ability to put on a great show. Eventually, though, he's taken down by TK and Lycos, and that ends the show with him being arrested by the actual police officers, not LJ and Millie. But yeah, that was G Money's Daft Emporium, a show about a wrestling show. Very crazy, very kooky, but very much needed Pro wrestling have a habit of doing too serious shows, so it's nice to have something that's a bit daft, a bit silly, a bit preposterous. And I hope that we get more shows like this. Not every like few months. I mean like I don't mind one or two every year, but something like this is desperately needed in wrestling, and a bit of comedy on the Brit rest scene is never a bad thing. Uh, but with that, that is the end of this review. I've been Dan, DP DeBreezy. My handle for Twitter is below. Our show handles are over there or over there. I think they're over here. Maybe over there somewhere. They're up there. So our YouTube, which are on obviously, our Twitch, we're on Twitch, our Twitter and our Instagram, as well as join our Discord. We've got a buzzing community where we just talk wrestling. And if you're not like me and don't like football, you can not talk football, but there's also a thriving community there as well, which they talk about football. Um, but yeah, that's about it. Really, that's all I had to to plug, and I will see you guys at the next review, whenever that will be, for whatever show that will be. See you then. Peace.